Hi everyone, it's Jessica and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to tackle 5 different reads that feature a badass female lead on Kindle Unlimited. So, what makes a woman badass? There are a lot of traits that you could think are really awesome in a character. Empathy, high intelligence, a lot of kindness, but this character I'm talking about in specific is actually going to be like more of a physically strong, get in there, be part of the fight kind of woman. We're talking about women that go in there, they're not afraid of a fight, they're strong, they're talented in combat, they're tough, they don't need a man. This is like your traditional 90s girl power kind of moment. And sometimes it's overdone or it's not done well, but in this case these are 5 different books on Kindle Unlimited that you could read where you could see a fun portrayal of this kind of badass trope. Number 5 is going to be the Flirting with Monster series by Eva Chase. In particular, I'm going to shout out the first book, Shadow Thief. I like this one the best, and I also enjoy the second book quite a bit. Personally, I feel like the series as a whole starts to go downhill from book 3 onward, although it could still be a fun romp for many readers, particularly in like the badass female element, which is what I like most about the series. I feel like our character starts to drift away from that. So in book 1, we meet our protagonist, and she's a thief, which right away is usually a pretty stereotypical badass woman cat burglar kind of job. And she's playing a kind of Robin Hood where she steals from these wealthy people who are using their funds to capture exotic game. And in this case, the exotic game is gonna be shadow creatures. Generally, they're non-sentient, although they are scarier than normal human earth creatures. But there are some higher up shadow creatures that can talk and interact with humans, and also have a genuinely human form. And some people capture those as well. The particular house she's breaking into actually has 3 high-level shadow beings trapped within it. She's a little bit worried because these creatures can be dangerous, but she goes ahead and frees all 3 of them. And the story revolves around the fact that these 3 beings that she frees are so grateful they come back to protect her and pay the favor back. And it ends up being a reverse harem story, so you kind of need a tough character to deal with these 3 more dangerous characters. And even though the power dynamic should be such that like the 3 shadow beings are way up here and she's down here, her confidence, her skill set is a skill set that they need. So it keeps her feeling like a powerful, relevant character far beyond what she'd otherwise be capable of. And I love a female character with a specialized skill set. Like, she's okay at fighting, but really what she's good at is making connections to the right people, talking to them to get information, and then like the cloak and dagger, sort of breaking and entering, getting around security systems, that kind of thing. I love someone who doesn't have to brute force their way through, who can find a way around all those traps in a unique and creative way. So all of that's really fun watching her. I would recommend the Flirting with Monsters series as a whole, but specifically the first book, Shadow Thief, and the second book as ones where you're gonna see this main lead be a badass woman. So number 4 on this list is gonna be The Shadow Beast Shifters by Jaymin Eve. And I'm actually really glad that I read this book. It kept popping up in my Amazon recommended feed, and for a long time that cover on the first book actually turned me off because I thought it was going to be very sexual. And it does turn out to be like a steamy romance eventually, but actually the first book is pretty tame, and even when they get to more steamy elements in the second book, I don't think it's over the top or too graphic, but the cover is very provocative in the first book. The first story in the Shadow Beast series is called Rejected, and it's told in first person. It's another one of these shifter romance stories, werewolf shifter romance stories. I tend to read a lot of them, especially this past year. This one is your stereotypical story with a teenager who's being treated badly for something her parents did. In this case, her father rebelled against the pack alpha, and because of that, both her and her mother are outcasts. And things continue to amp up. She's being bullied, she's being threatened, it's more and more dangerous, and she's doing her best to react stoically or to come up with a plan for how to escape this pack and go on and live her own life. And I appreciate that about her, that she didn't let what her father did define her, and she realized that she deserved better and is going out there and trying to figure out a way to be treated better, even if it's not within the pack that she's part of right now. But when the story really picks up is the god of the werewolves is called the Shadow Beast, and she ends up accidentally releasing some creatures from the Shadow Realm and summoning the Shadow Beast. And he takes her away from the pack because he needs her help to collect all of these monsters and bring them back into the Shadow Realm before they destroy the Earth. So now we see that she is interacting with a lot of other beings that are way more powerful than she is. She has a little bit of mystery, there's something going on there. It's very much a teen story in that she's coming into her own power, she's discovering herself, and there's information that she's not aware of about her origins. So I enjoy that. I enjoy that even though she at first believes the Shadow Beast is significantly more powerful than her and that she would easily be destroyed by him and that he wouldn't have a problem destroying her, she still stands up to him, she still defies him. It's a little bit of that overconfident teen, but it works for her. You really feel like she's standing up against authority, she's standing up against the man, and she's not going to take any disrespect from anyone, even though disrespect has come to be like the standard for her. The world keeps pushing her, and she stands there and she pushes back. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that it feels like often she never gets a break, and she's still there saying, no, the way you're treating me is not okay. This is not okay, I deserve more, and I'm not going to allow this to go on. And when she has the chance, she stands up for other people that are also being bullied and pushed around. And I respect that arc, I enjoy it. We start with her while she's low level and trying to escape a bad situation, and we follow her arc all the way through. So there's also a lot of satisfaction in seeing her grow into these powers, better understand what she can do, see when people are manipulating and not manipulating her, and just generally coming to understand herself, the world around her, and her place in it better. It's got like that mixture of a strong female character out there fighting, taking on big projects, and it's also got that little bit of finding yourself in the world sort of feel. So I enjoy both those elements. Number 3 on this list is going to be the Steel and Stone series by Annette Marie. This is another series where I think the first 3 books, maybe first 4 books are the best in the series, and the rest of it to me starts to fall off a little bit. But one thing I can say about this book is throughout the entirety of the series, our main character, Piper, is really badass. She's just awesome. She starts off in this book, we're in an urban fantasy setting where the Fae have revealed themselves to humanity, revealed their connections from their world to our world, and it's totally changed human society. It's taken us in a different direction. And one of the things we have now is we have these houses that are supposed to be neutral territory. They have caterers who take care of it, caretakers really more like, who take care of that space, to help guarantee the area remains neutral for negotiation, for meetings, for other things that might otherwise be tricky to find a place to host. And the whole concept of these houses is that anyone can come and stay at them and expect to be treated as a guest, to walk in and walk out unharmed. No matter what they've done, no matter if they're wanted or not, they're able to stop these places and be safe. Her father has some powers because he's like half Fae or whatever. His daughter, Piper, does not have any powers because he's half Fae and her mom is half Fae, and apparently together that creates a being that doesn't have any powers, which is a little bit odd, but we're rolling with it, especially because overall Piper's very unusual. Usually half Fae, half humans can't create children at all. So just her existence in general is kind of an anomaly. But she is working really hard, so she's got these really strong martial arts moves, these really strong fighting moves, because she wants a place in this world. Even though she doesn't have power, she doesn't have a way to stop these stronger demons from attacking, she still wants to belong. And because of that, it drives her, and it explains why she has such great martial arts fighting skills, why she has a little bit of an aggressive, tough, almost unlikable character, why she's so determined and driven. She falls in with these other 2 demons who are on a kind of sketchy mission. From there, things take off. She is caught in a situation where she's trying to protect the hotel, she's trying to protect her father, and she's also trying to solve this mystery and just prove that she has a right to be here and exist in this world. I really like it. I love that she stands powerless against all these bigger, stronger creatures. They have one scene in the first book where she is literally in a fighting rink with other demons and they're using their powers against her and all kinds of other machinations to try to beat her, and she's just beating them with brute force and a little bit of sly intelligence where she knows what their weaknesses are and she uses them against those demons. So I love a character that's an underdog that rises up anyways. As the story progresses, Piper does eventually start to gain some powers, and I won't spoil how that happens, but the powers that she has, how she's related, how they weave that all in, I really like all of that too. I love her discovering her powers. They always feel really earned. She never feels like she's an overpowered character, and her fearlessness and her drive to protect the thing she cares about and the people she cares about is always her strongest attribute. I've got to love that. She's got a real warrior woman vibe throughout the entire show, or the entire book. And I would totally recommend Sword and Steel series by Annette Marie for pretty much any reader looking for just a badass woman story. So number 2 is going to be the Secondborn series by Amy A. Bartol. And this series is literally about Roselle, who is second-born in the House of the Sword, and all children that are, all the not first-born children, aka the second-born children, are forced to work in their house's trade. They're given away at 17 or 18, I want to say. I can't remember it's a teenage year. I can't remember the exact date right now. And in this case, Roselle is going to be given away to be a ground soldier because Sword are the fighters and they're in the middle of a war. It's a futuristic society. To be fair to her family, they do spend a lot of time training her, so she has significantly more training than a lot of her second-born army peers do. But also, there are a bunch of people trying to assassinate her because even though she's second-born and therefore not important, there's always the chance that something will happen to her brother who's going to take over the throne of the sword. And if that happens, Roselle will be called back from the war and she will become the firstborn heir to the throne. So even though she's in a lot of dangerous situations all the time and she's not technically important, she could become important at any moment in their society, just if there's an assassination or some accident happens. And it's not entirely unheard of for the firstborn child to be killed, even in less violent houses. So she's been trained in how to avoid assassination plots, she's been trained to fight, she has a lot of skills like that. And she's thrown into a lot of scenarios as well. The first book, we literally do get to see some of the horrors of war that happened in the first book, and a little bit in the second book as well, although the second book is more like an espionage plot that's happening removed from the front lines. So I enjoyed that. She literally fights her way out of a lot of situations. I think the third book in the series is a major letdown, but it still shows Roselle continuing to grow as stakes continue to raise and her powers level up, if you will, to continue with all the villains and how they're leveling up as well. And I think it would have been hard to figure out an ending that would have satisfied everyone for the Secondborn series just based off of where the second book took us. I really enjoyed the second book. I loved the ending, but I had no idea what Amy A. Bartol was going to do to wrap it up in the third book. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised that I found the book itself a little bit of a struggle. This is another young adult book. I think a lot of these books with fun, kick-ass women end up being young adult books because part of what these women are doing is they're establishing a place for themselves in this world and establishing that women can do some of the same things that men can do physically. Sometimes they can even do it better, just either by using cleverness or because they've trained so hard. And it's just rewarding though and fun to see these characters out there doing that. And my number 1 pick for a kick-ass female lead in Kindle Unlimited is actually going to be a tie. I'm torn between the Ridden series by T.A. White and the Deadly Dragon Duet by Collette Rhodes. So the Ridden series is a new adult series that features Tate as our main character. She has significant memory loss, and she has total memory loss, and she's been living on a pirate ship for the past better part of a year, when she comes to shore and starts to get herself into trouble, and she realizes that she's going to have to leave the pirates behind and go on her own adventure. Right away, Tate is like a very not like other girls kind of character. She doesn't wear dresses. She's held her own against pirates this whole time. Some of the pirates have been threatening her in aggressive ways. It's one of the reasons she wants to leave the ship, even though she really likes the captain. And she also knows there's something more going on with her mysterious past she can't quite remember. And the more we uncover about that, the more we continue to see how much of a badass she is. She is secretly a host for a dragon. She's the first female to host a dragon in practically forever. There's like a legend about this one person who once held a dragon and went crazy, who was female. But other than that, it's just her. And the whole process of having a dragon within you means that you can transform into that dragon some of the times. It means that you have this mental link between you and your dragon. And this, combined with her slowly uncovering more knowledge about herself, her fight or flight being mostly to fight, the fact that she is mouthy a lot of the time, she's not afraid to step into fighting scenarios. She has a sharp eye for detail. Most of the things that she has to solve in her book are puzzle driven, but there is a lot of danger in fighting going on. Some of the characters she connects the most with are other strong characters that have skills in fighting, and they recognize her own skill, like they recognize the same skills in her. She's very protective of her friends, and she's really accepting and inquisitive too. Like, there's this one character that seems to be basically a sentient, I picture him as a sentient jaguar. He's described a little bit different than that, but that's basically what he is. And most of the other people see him as a beast, even though he can communicate with them, and even though he does have some human features. And Tate takes a liking to him right away. They end up teaming up and they become fast friends. She also befriends a lot of people who are like rejects, circus freaks, literally like rejects from the circus. And she knows her way around at thieving. She knows both like unsavory skills and savory skills, and she uses all of that savvy and know-how in her story, and it's just a lot of fun to see. And it's a great combination of skills too, to be perceptive and be able to observe, but also not be afraid to step into a situation and become center stage, and to make a stand whenever you feel is necessary. So I love Tate and Dragon Ridden, and it is, all four of those books, they're great. I hope there's more. I can't wait for T.A. White to do more. And then it's tied with The Deadly Dragon Duet, which is a story that I recently read last year. It is a reverse harem story, and in the first book, everything is PG in the first book. It's all just character building. But our main character in this story, she's been held captive for a long time. She has a quest. If she ever gets free from her captivity, she's going to she's going to kill all the dragons that killed her family. It's really cool because female dragons in this world are usually pretty mild-mannered and tame. And our main character has a murder-revenge style plot that she wants to go on. And the story continues. She has to escape all these tough dragons who seem powerful so that she can go on her own personal quest to destroy those that murdered her family. The process of her going through that, the process of her going through her anger, expressing her feelings, explaining why she has to do this, how there can be no forgiveness. It's a great story about processing grief and how she in particular processes it, how there might not be a right or a wrong way to do that, and this is just the way she knows. And it's a great story about bucking your society, standing up for yourself, and committing to a plan, following through on that plan, even if it's not like necessarily a great plan. Like, the story itself in The Deadly Dragon Duet totally champions this character, champions her murdering like 6 other people. And I mean, I have some qualms about that because personally I don't think murder is ever the solution, and vengeance when taken to that extreme is not good. It's not positive for anyone. And, you know, like, that's something I'd like to talk about probably at a later date, is some of the issues I have with this story. But there can be no doubt that how she goes about achieving her goals and eventually enacting her revenge plan is just a badass, kick-ass female moment. I would definitely recommend the Deadly Dragon Duet just for that moment. At the end of book 1, beginning of book 2 is where her badassery shines the most. And after that, things start to tame out a little bit. But even then, it depends on what you mean by that, because after she enacts her revenge, she decides to give her fellas a second chance, and she's brave enough to engage with them and demand that they engage with her on her own terms. And she also goes after a position within government, which is unheard of, no female dragon has ever done. And she forces the other dragons to see her, even though she's a woman, as an equal to them, or to the male dragons. And she encourages other women to step up and follow their dreams where needed to. So even in a non-physical sense, just in a I am equal to you sense, we have like the badass female over in the Deadly Dragon Duet as well. So those are my top 5, I guess technically 6, favorite badass women characters in Kindle Unlimited. And I have this honorable mention too. And my honorable mention is going to be the book of the Unnamed Midwife by Elison. And this story features a character who's woken up to society's collapse and has found out that a disease has ravaged humanity, and it's ravaged women more than men. Women are more likely to die. Even when women survive, they're more likely to die in childbirth than they were previously. So she dresses up like a man and goes through the land giving birth control to women in need, and just trying to find her place in this destroyed world. It's really cool. It's cool to see a post-apocalypse dystopian woman out there. It's kind of like a Mad Max style moment before Fury Road Mad Max existed. And it's just like if we had had just Furiosa's story with no Mad Max at all. That's kind of the Unnamed Midwife's journey. There are no men. There are men in the story, many men in the story, but there's no like prominent male sidekick. She does spend a lot of time mourning her boyfriend slash fiance slash husband, and for a little bit we get some of his journals about where he is and what he's doing while she's wandering the road. While it's interesting, it doesn't ever really lead to much, I don't think. I think the story is more focused on the Unnamed Midwife, her travels, and how she handles this new dangerous landscape. That's 7 books now that you can read on Kindle Unlimited that feature badass women out there owning their own story. If you can't tell, this is probably one of my favorite genres. If you've got a badass woman in almost any genre, I want to read about it. If she's an underdog, if she's establishing a place in the world and it's the place that she wants, even better. But those are some of my favorite tropes and some of my favorite characters embodying them. If you have another book that's sort of like this, feel free to recommend it to me in the comments down below. If you like this video, feel free to go ahead and hit the like button. And if you like this style of content, these kind of book recommendations, I read mostly urban fantasy, paranormal romance, and science fiction, so they're mostly flavored around those. But if you like those kind of books and you like this kind of content, feel free to go ahead and subscribe. I'm posting new videos weekly on Wednesdays at 7 Central PM, so feel free to pop in and take a look. Anyways, thanks for getting to the end of the video. Bye!